So we're going to do piecewise functions. Our objective is to identify and graph piecewise functions including greatest integer, step, and absolute value functions. So a greatest integer function is the greatest integer not greater than x. So here's a greatest integer function with the two little x's. An example would be like two little things, and then it'd be like 6.001, and the greatest integer of that would just be 6. That would not be greater than 6.001. So for here we can see on a graph that I put negative 1.9, and the greatest integer for that would be negative 2, and so on and so forth. Here we're going to do like step functions. So for like a step function would be this stuff, and then like negative 3 and negative 3 less than or equal to x but is less than negative 2. So we go down to negative 3 and negative 2, which would be these two, and the greatest integer or step function would be negative 3. And we just keep going and graphing them all. Another kind of piecewise function, like a regular one, we could do evaluate them. So that would just be plugging in numbers. So like f of negative 3 would be less than 0, so you would just plug that into x minus 2. So negative 3 minus 2 would be negative 5. For 2, you would put which is greater than or equal to 0. So we'd do this equation would be x squared plus 1. So 2 squared plus 1 equals 5. Then to graph them, we could do this again and just plug in numbers. So for the first one, we can't use 0 because it has to be less than 0. But we'll still use it and just pretend. So we'll go f of 0 equals negative 2, and then the point would be 0, negative 2. And since you can't use 0 actually, you're going to put like a open circle around the point. So 0, negative 2 would be right here, and we'll just put like a point. And then we could go again and use a number that we could actually use, like negative 1, because it's less than 0. So negative 1, if you plug that into x minus 2, that would be negative 3, so the point would be negative 1, negative 3. So you go down 1 over 3, and then we could just go on, so it could be like that or something. And then for the second part, we could do x squared plus 1. So we could plug in 0, and that would actually work. So if we plugged in 0, it would just be 0. So we could go right here and actually plug in that point. And then, or actually it'd be up here, 0, negative 1, or 0, 1. And then, if you plugged in 1, it would just be 1 and 2 if you like went through the formula. So 1 up 2, and that would look something like this. So you could go like this. Absolute value functions, that would just be like f of x equals the absolute value of x. So here our table would be negative 3, negative 2, and they would all just be the absolute value. So that would be 3, 2, 0, 1, and 2. To plug those in, you would just go with them. And it would look like that.